Do not get ripped off when buying firewood. If you're buying firewood to heat your house or just for fun, you're going to want to watch this video. Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about buying firewood. If you're heating your house with it, or you have an outdoor wood furnace, or you're just burning for fun, you want to make sure you're getting what you pay for. And when you do get it, you want to make sure that you take care of it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing to talk about is how firewood is sold. Firewood is typically sold by the cord or a fraction of a cord, meaning a third of a cord, a half a cord. In many areas, a face cord is 1/3 of a cord. Some people call it a rick. We don't use that here in Northeast Pennsylvania. I've never heard it used, but that also generally describes a third of a cord of firewood. So how much is that exactly? All right, so here we have 3 rows of firewood. Let me lift this up a little bit so you can see better. There's 3 rows here. Each individual piece of firewood is at least 16 inches. In this case, that's about 16.5 inches. That's how I like to cut them, just a little bit over. Sometimes you get a short piece, sometimes you get a long piece. As long as the majority of them are 16 inches or greater, that is a standard measurement for buying firewood. The pieces have to be 16 inches. So a face cord, they call it a face cord or 1/3 of a cord because if you're looking at a cord of wood, a face cord is just the face or 1 row. So if you're going to buy a face cord of firewood, the dimensions 4 feet high, and 8 feet long. So if we use this log here as our marker, that's at 4 feet, and then we go 8 feet. So if we look at my tape measure from right here all the way down to here, that's 8 feet. Right there is 8 feet. This from here to here, 4 feet high, is a face cord or 1/3 of a cord. So when you buy a face cord of firewood, make sure you stack it, and you stack it 4 feet high and 8 feet long. And you should wind up with exactly that dimension: 4 feet high, 8 feet long, 16-inch pieces of wood. If you do, then you've gotten what you paid for. If you're short, you'll know it, and you're going to have a conversation with the person selling you the wood. Make sure that you're getting what you pay for. So stack it and measure it. If your logs are longer, let's say you asked for 20-inch pieces, a face cord of 20-inch pieces, that's going to change your measurement. A full cord of firewood is 128 cubic feet. That measures 4 feet high, 8 feet long, and 4 feet wide. So 4 by 4 by 8. A face cord, therefore, is going to be a third of that, 43 cubic feet. As long as you're getting 43 cubic feet, you bought a face cord. And you just calculate, the number. If your logs are longer, you just make your calculations based on a 20-inch piece of wood, and that may affect the length of your face cord if they're being that particular about it. All right, so a cord of wood is 128 cubic feet, or 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. If you buy a cord of wood and you stack it and you get those measurements, you're good to go. And again, like I said, if you're short, then you need to talk to your wood supplier. If you're over, you need to thank your wood supplier. Hey, I was a little bit over. Thank you very much. If they're giving you more, they know they're giving you more. A lot of guys give the exact amount, the exact measurements, and that's fine. That's their business model. As long as you are happy and you are getting what you pay for, That's what's important. A lot of people, if you, I don't know, if you go to Facebook Marketplace or wherever, and you see people selling wood by the truckload, be very careful buying from them, because most likely you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. I ordered a truckload way back before I knew what I was doing, and I ordered a truckload of firewood, and I paid, you know, I forget what I paid for it, but, and the guy shows up with like a small mini pickup truck with a, you know, like a Ford Ranger, a small box, and that was his truckload. And it was full, but it wasn't a face cord. There was no way it was a face cord. So I paid face cord prices for less than a face cord. So I got burned, but I learned. It was kind of an emergency at the time because I had completely exhausted my firewood supply and I needed to buy some for my furnace. So it was a lesson learned. Anyway, be careful buying by the truckload. Additionally, if somebody is delivering a cord of wood in their pickup truck, like for instance, my pickup truck over there, that's my wood delivery truck. When I use that truck to deliver a cord of wood, I have to stack the wood top to bottom, right up to the very top of those wooden sideboards, all the way up to there, top to bottom, front to back. And that's a full cord of wood. If they're selling it by an 8-foot bed pickup truck and you're buying a cord, it should be cleanly stacked top to bottom, front to back. If it's just thrown in loose, you're not getting a cord. Guarantee you're not getting a cord. If you're buying wood and it's thrown in a truck or a trailer loosely, that changes the dimension of what you're buying. A cord of wood loosely thrown into the back of a truck or back of a trailer is going to be 180 cubic feet as opposed to 128 cubic feet. And that's because the wood is not stacked tight together. There's going to be a lot more airspace in there. So you have to add that those additional cubic feet to account for all the airspace. And when I sell a cord of wood and I use my dump trailer, it gets thrown in loose because I'm not going to stack it in the dump trailer. And I know how much a cord of wood looks like in the back of my dump trailer. So the bottom line here, as far as firewood measurements, make sure that when you buy the wood, you know exactly what you're getting and how much you're getting. And really the only way to do that is to stack it, unfortunately. So somebody drops off a dump trailer load of firewood and you stack it, it better be 4x4x8 when it's done. And that also accounts for, like, when I do the ends, I will cross stack the ends so that they stand up straight and you get a nice square end. And that's fine as long as those corner stacks are filled in as much as possible. Let's talk about seasoned firewood versus green firewood or unseasoned firewood. Green firewood or unseasoned firewood is typically freshly split. It hasn't had time to dry. It has not sat around long at all. The firewood will have a moisture content greater than 20%. That would be unseasoned firewood. When you're buying firewood, ask for seasoned wood. And when he says, yeah, it's seasoned, how long has it been sitting? What kind of wood is it? And how long has it been sitting? If it's predominantly oak and it has been sitting for less than a year, it's probably not going to be seasoned. Oak takes 1 year per inch of thickness to properly season. So if you have a piece of wood that is 4 inches square, looking at it on the end, that will take every bit of a year to completely dry. And that's assuming that the drying conditions are very good. So when we look at a piece of wood like this is oak. It's also frozen. This wood has been sitting here for 6 or 7 months. If I split this open and check the moisture content inside, it is not going to be ready. It'll be over 20%. It'll be 23, 25, maybe even higher. Now, you take a thinner piece like this, and this is not oak. Pretend this was oak. So 1 inch of thickness right about here. This piece would be dry. This piece is ready to burn. But on any oak firewood, and this is really important because oak is oak is very popular for firewood, but it just takes a really long time to dry out. If you're buying a lot of firewood, invest in a moisture meter. It's just a small device you can get at any hardware store. I think probably Lowe's has them. You can buy them online. They're cheap. They're under 20 bucks. And it just has 2 metal probes. You split the wood, you stick the probes in, and it tells you the moisture content. That's the best way to know, the most accurate way to know. You can also tell by knocking a couple pieces of wood together. That'll tell you if it's dry because it makes a ringing sound. All right, I don't know if you can really tell, but here's 2 pieces of firewood. That's kind of dry. This piece is probably dry. This piece is marginal. That's a piece of oak. Probably hear it. It's not a sharp sound. That's not a very accurate way to tell. You can also tell if you look at the ends. The ends of the wood will start to split. You'll get cracks on the ends. If you see the cracks on the ends, that's a good indication that it's starting to dry. But again, the only way to really tell is with a moisture meter. So ask your wood supplier, how long has it been sitting there? What kind of wood is it? If he says, oh, it's mostly oak, he better tell you it's been sitting there at least a year, because that's going to be dry wood. If not, then you're getting wood that's going to sizzle and leak sap out the ends when you're burning it. You'll know because it'll smoke a lot and it won't burn real good. So if you're getting wood that's doing that, it hasn't been seasoned properly. So why is it important to buy seasoned wood? Well, it's important because if the wood is completely dry, it burns much more efficiently. If you buy unseasoned wood and try to burn it, you're going to get a lot of smoke. If you're burning in a wood stove or in a fireplace, it's not going to burn real good. You're going to have a lot of soot build up, creosote build up in your chimney, and that's a bad thing. Dry wood burns very efficient. You get less smoke, more heat. The heat from the wood is not going up the chimney in the form of steam. We're going to talk about the different kinds of firewood, their properties with burning. So if you're burning for heat, it's preferable to burn hardwoods. Maple, locust, hickory, cherry, elm, those are all good hardwoods. Now on the West Coast, they don't have a lot of hardwoods, so they have to burn softwoods. Pine, spruce, cedar, hemlock, that's all softwood. Well, guess what? It burns perfectly fine as long as it's dry. So as Chris from In the Woodyard would say, pine is fine. It just has to be dry. The disadvantage with pine is even if it is dry, it has a tendency to pop and snap and throw cinders out. So if you have a fireplace, be aware that pine will chuck cinders out of the fireplace. So you have to be prepared for that. The other reason to burn hardwoods is they provide more BTUs per cubic foot than softwoods. So in layman's terms, a piece of hardwood will heat longer than a piece of softwood like pine. If you look down in the description, I'm going to put a link to a Firewood BTU chart. That'll give a little bit more explanation of BTUs based on the different types of hardwoods. The higher the BTU rating, the better the wood is to use. It will give you more heat for the money, essentially, because it's going to burn longer, provide more heat for the same amount of cubic feet. All right, so we talked about when you buy the firewood and stacking the firewood to make sure that you're getting what you paid for. What else do you have to do with firewood? Unless you're stacking underneath a porch or some covered area, you're probably going to want to cover the firewood. When you cover firewood, only cover the top, because you want air to circulate through the wood. If you cover the top and the sides, any moisture that's coming out of the wood is going to build up in there. You're going to get mold, you're going to get rot. If it sits there long enough, the wood will become completely useless. If you stack it like you see here, uncovered, then it gets exposed to the air, obviously, rain, wind, snow, etc. If you have a lot of firewood, like I have here, I have a pretty good row going here. The stuff that I'm going to sell the soonest, way down the end there, I have the tops covered. Some of it anyway. Because I want it to dry and I want to keep the snow and the rain off of it. The rest of this can just stay exposed for now because it has a while to go before it's dry. But you definitely want to cover the top. It'll keep the leaves off. If you're anywhere near trees, it will keep the rain and snow off. Good idea to keep it covered. Just don't cover the sides, just the top. The other important thing, when you stack your firewood, as you can see here, I've got just the top covered. When you stack your wood, get it up off the ground. You can see here I've got pallets underneath everything. So the important thing is to keep it up off the ground, and what that will do is it will keep the bottom pieces from absorbing moisture from the ground. If you laid this directly on the ground, that whole bottom section there, if it sat for a year, it would become saturated with water and once again be wet firewood instead of dry firewood. So you definitely want to keep it up off the ground, keep it dry. If I have missed anything, please let me know. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment. I do try to respond to every single comment on my videos. Any questions, whatever you have, let me hear it. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. It'll help me build my channel up. Okay, that's it. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later.